Hey everyone, we are super excited to be spreading awareness and destigmatizing mental health in the Black and Brown communities.
This podcast is a safe place for us to discuss our adversities and even our shortcomings. We all have a story.
Just remember, no matter what we go through, our story goes on. What's up, everyone? I'm so sorry. Jay always just cracks me up before we get started. That's why I'm always laughing, because the way he counts me down. But yes, hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. So we are on episode 4 of Our Story Goes On. And it's still just me. I know that I had said that Joe might possibly be with us today, but it's still just me. So just please be patient with us. But I think I'm holding it down for the both of us. So don't you guys worry. But yeah, so today I'm feeling pretty good. My week is going well and I can't really complain about anything for this week, and I'm just grateful. And I actually got a raise at work. I forgot to mention that last episode too. Yeah. I got a raise at work, which was really great, and it meant a lot to me because I think that my boss was really heard me out when I let her know that I was kind of struggling a little bit. So, and I let her know about my second job and everything, and she's like, I don't want that to happen. I don't want you to ever feel like that's necessary or anything. So I think she tried really hard to get that for me, and I'm just really happy about it. So there's definitely a plus, and it'll definitely make a difference, I think. So yeah. So everything is going pretty well. So for today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to get into a healthy daily routine. So we've all heard of routines, and I know that social media is full of them as well. And actually, one of our listeners had specifically requested that we talk about this too. So that's what is on the agenda for today, if you will. And the thing with social media and the daily routines is that it just makes it look so perfect. And of course it does, because if you're making an Instagram reel or a TikTok, you're going to notice that all of that is edited. It all is meant to look perfect. And people tend to forget what happens in between those minutes of starting the video, ending the video, all of that. So I feel like we should do a whole episode of social media and how much it affects a person's viewpoint and life at times because of the comparison, but that's a whole other story. So daily routine, the definition of it is basically exactly what it sounds like. And it's basically activities or a series of things that people engage in every day at particular times of the day. So your daily routine consists of habits, basically, and these actions can structure your day. Now, it's also important to remember about daily routines is that some people actually engage in bad daily habits. And that is the point of today's episode, where we can discuss how to hopefully get out of those bad habits or start developing a little bit more of a healthy, positive routine. So speaking of habits, let's kind of start there first, because I believe that in order to start with a daily routine or start learning how to develop one, it's about understanding habits. So in order to develop, a healthy daily routine, we have to learn how to start making it kind of like a habit. So habits are basically actions or behaviors that we do automatically that usually doesn't require much thinking. They're embedded in our brains, and sometimes we even do them subconsciously. Now, there can be good habits and bad habits, but I usually feel that when people are using the word habit, it's sometimes, not always, of course, but sometimes I usually notice that people will say it in a negative way, like, oh, this is such a bad habit of mine, or I can't break this bad habit. I rarely hear people talk about it, habit, in a sense of good habit. So, like, we all talk about our little quirks that we all have that would constitute as bad. And For example, like I have a bad habit of cracking everything in my body from my knuckles to my elbows to my neck. Like it's so bad. And I've been that way since I was a little girl. Maybe not like every part of my body, but certainly my knuckles, and twin sister and I are the same with that. Like we both have had that habit since we were as long as I can remember. And I remember people always telling us like, don't do that. You're going to develop arthritis and your knuckles are going to be so big and blah, blah, blah. But I've seen research that actually they say it does not cause arthritis. There's really no harm to it at all. But I'm just giving you an example of something that I do every single day, honestly, subconsciously at times too, because I'll realize that I'll do it even during my sessions with my clients. And when I'm in session with my clients, I try my very best to be as like not as distracted as possible. So when I'm in session for like face to face, I don't usually drink water. I don't have a notebook in front of me, as the media always shows. Therapists always have a notebook. Now, don't get me wrong, some therapists certainly can have a notebook and pen to write down notes, but I just feel like it really takes away from the session. And so I just try to limit as many distractions as possible. And I realized that I'll still crack my knuckles throughout the session. And I try very hard to be conscious of it while I'm doing it so that it's not as distracting to the client. Now, a client has never said to me like, that's distracting, or why are you doing that? So I don't know, maybe they don't even realize it either, but it's just something that I've realized has happened. I'm like, maybe I should just be a little bit more aware of it. So now, in terms of that, right? So let's just say, for example, you want to develop a routine or maybe even break a bad habit, like I just talked about. New habit formation results in something called neuroplasticity, which is basically the brain's ability to change its structure through growth and reorganization. It's basically when the brain rewires itself to do something that it was not doing before. So this means that we basically have to train our brain to change, and we can do that through routine and consistency. So when a behavior is performed consistently, it becomes automatic on the decision make on it becomes automatic, so the decision making aspect of our brains are actually used now less. So, for example, think of a skill that you might have started years ago that felt really difficult when you first started. Now it's second nature to you, like driving or riding a bike or cooking, things that we felt like were maybe impossible when we first started. And now they're just automatic. So that's actually our brain's neuroplasticity that's working, because we weren't born driving, right? We weren't born learning how to do specific things. We all had to learn a skill at one point in our life. And at that time, our brain had to now basically become accustomed to that skill. Like I said, especially driving, that's like the first thing that always comes to mind, is because most of us drive, right, when we get to a certain age. And I remember when I first started learning how to drive, I remember I couldn't even turn the car. Like it was such a struggle for me just to turn the wheel, like to make a right or left hand turn. And I remember being like in the permit part of my license, like, at least in New Jersey, which is where I live, we have to do 6 hours of permit with like an instructor while they're in the car with us. And I remember being so embarrassed because he's like, turn the car. And I was like, I can't. But again, now that's second nature. Obviously, I can turn my car. So it's kind of the same thing. And that's how the same thing in terms of developing a habit, AKA developing your daily routine. It's really about just starting and understanding that your brain is going to eventually learn that skill. So I also know that there's this notion that is around social media or TV, whatever it is, that it takes 21 days to develop a habit. So I'm sure that you guys have heard that before, but research actually has said that's not necessarily the case. Now, I don't think I've ever come across one specific research article or book that I have read this is the exact amount of days that it takes to develop a habit. But I know that 21 days is becoming less and less known now, because I read a book that said it actually takes 66 days to develop a habit, which is obviously way longer than 21 days. So, and then I saw somewhere else where it takes like 200 days to develop a habit. And I remember the book that I was reading on it was called Cleaning Up Your Mental Mess by Dr. Caroline Leaf, I want to say. I probably should have looked up. It's literally sitting in my living room. But I read most of the book, and literally it was just talking about how to start developing more of a routine life that will help reduce depression and anxiety. And a lot of the book is about habit formation. And I believe she was the one that said 66 days and not 21. And I mean, I'm not saying that she's the only one, of course, but this is like some of her research that she does a lot of. She's a researcher, all of that. And but at the end of the day, no matter whether it's 21 days for you or 66 or 256, it really just boils down to how you are going to respond to that. The consistency, the discipline, you have to make sure that you're actually going for it and not just like, thinking that, oh, in 21 days I'll be good, because at the end of those 21 days, at the end of those 66 days, you still have to keep going. And sometimes if you even take a few days off from that habit, you might feel a little bit off track. So, why a daily routine? And I say this because I think social media has such a huge impact on our world today. And I feel like everyone talks about it. And everyone shows their reels and their TikToks about how they get into a daily routine. And like I said in the beginning of the episode, is that sometimes people feel like it's impossible to get down to that routine that people show. Like I came across this one woman on my TikTok, and I saw her a few times on my For You page, but her routine looked immaculate. She woke up at, I think it was like 6 a.m., made her bed, took her dogs out, I think did a home exercise and what else? A home exercise, made like fruit juice or vegetable juice, whatever, took her vitamins, took a shower, did makeup, and she was out the door within like an hour. So, of course, like that all sounds great, but we have to also realize that that's not always going to be possible for a lot of people, because it also depends on how your routine is with work, with school, or whatever it is. Sometimes it can't be that specific. And so I think that structure is really good to show like, hey, this is what I do in a day, and this might work for you too. Because I'm not saying that like that person was like telling her followers like, oh, this is the only way to do routine. I know that's not certainly what she was getting at. But again, I think it could sometimes be difficult when you see that and you're thinking, well, why can I do that? So back to the original thing was about developing, or like why a routine. Besides the whole social media thing, establishing a healthy and positive routine is a self-investment, and it provides improved mental health, decreased levels of stress and anxiety. It also provides structure, which then reduces depression symptoms as well. And it could also help limit procrastination and increase discipline too. It also can just overall be a better tool for you for like sleep, because you know that if you have a specific routine, you probably are spending less time up at night, maybe setting up for the next day, or you have, again, that structure, which can develop a better sleeping habit. So, in order to develop a healthy routine, the first thing I want to mention is that you have to remember that what works for someone else may not work for you, and that's totally okay. So, it's important to pick activities or habits that resonate with you. And again, like what I mentioned with the TikTok, that one TikTok that I saw, that personally couldn't resonate with me because one, I am not a morning person. Like I have realized that in my last few years of life. And I don't know if it was because of the pandemic that made me, it probably definitely worsened it because I was working from home for so long. So in reality, I could literally roll over, brush my teeth, take a shower if I really, or, just brush my teeth in order to just wake up and get in front of a computer to have a session with my client. So that is really what made me realize like I probably wasn't a morning person. And like I said, perhaps the pandemic only increased that, where it was like I could literally roll over in my own home and just quickly do a session. And then, hey, I'm done with one session. Now I can go shower. Now I can go eat. And if I wasn't seeing people back to back, which often happens. But anyways, so it's important just to make it resonate with you. So let's go down a few steps of how to maybe start developing a healthy, positive routine for you. Now, the first I would recommend is basically brain dump everything that you need and want to get done in a day and include both at home and at work. So, by brain dump, what I mean is a lot of times our days are filled with a lot of different activities, different to dos, different people, whatever it may be. And sometimes that can feel overwhelming. So if you start to kind of write all that down and you then can start to realize, okay, this is this is what I need to get done in a day. This is what I want to get done in a day. And then you can start organizing that way. Instead of just thinking that it's all going to work out on its own, just write things down. And that way it could feel a little bit more organized for you. So the second I would recommend is to structure your day. Now, I would recommend both a morning and nighttime routine, but think about what works best for you in terms of timing. Everyone is different. So like I said before, I'm not a morning person. So when I try to develop my routine, there are some things that I realize just work better for me like midday/evening than it does in the morning, because it's not really good for me to get up too early because like I said, I'm not a morning person. So, and then the third is to get specific with times, because it's good to structure your schedule through time so that way you can see it visually. So, for example, waking up at the same time every morning, even on the days that you do not work, because that's really important, because that is part of the routine and that is part of the structure. So if you literally write Sunday through Saturday, waking up at 7:30 a.m., brushing teeth, blah, 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 blah. So that way, if you're actually writing down times, it feels a little bit more visually in tune with what you probably want. And now the fourth, I would say, is to set realistic goals for yourself. So don't overdo it and don't stress if you're going to maybe backtrack or anything like that. It's good just to give yourself grace through all of this. And by realistic goals, what I mean is making sure that you are not saying that you're going to go to the gym 6 days a week when you haven't worked out in 6 months, or saying that you're going to maybe meditate at night when you have 3 children, or let's say like you want to meditate at night at like 7 p.m. to kind of start the timing of like, like your nighttime routine, but then you have 2 or 3 kids that are still up. Probably not going to be realistic, right? Unless, of course, you have a partner and they can help you and all that, but sometimes that's not always possible. So just setting realistic goals for yourself that are going to be in tune with what is actually realistic in your life. So yeah, those are the 4 things that I would start off with trying to develop a routine. And for me, I don't necessarily have a nighttime routine because unfortunately at work, my evenings are always different. So I work evenings on Monday and Tuesdays, and then, well, Monday through Wednesday, but Wednesday I am now working from home, and Thursday and Friday are my earlier days. So I get in earlier, I leave earlier, because who wants to work until like 7, 8 o'clock on a Friday? Not me. So for me, my evenings are always basically different, because if I'm obviously working until 7 o'clock on Tuesdays, I'm not going to get home probably after I'm done writing my clinical notes. I'm probably not going to be home until around like 8ish, because I have a 30-minute commute. So on those days, like I don't necessarily want to like cook. It's just me and my husband. And on those late days, and he works until way past me as well. And so I don't necessarily want to feel like, hey, I want to be able to maybe relax and feel like I'm not spending the next 2 hours cooking or something until 10. So then my Thursdays and Fridays might look a little bit different, or my Wednesdays look very different because I'm working from home. So I could do a lot more. So again, that's something that kind of affects me when it comes to a nighttime routine. Now the morning, again, I'm not a morning person, like I said, but I still think that my morning routine really is important because it's basically jumpstarts my day. So, like I said before, if I'm just rolling out of bed, brushing my teeth, and then just going on about like, going to the kitchen, making breakfast, and then just going to work, like, sure, I mean, we all have that kind of routine, right? Where we're all getting up to go to work or to go to school or whatever, or wherever you need to go. But really, it's just about understanding that in your routine, there has to be something positive within it in order for it to succeed. At least that's how I look at it. So for me, my morning routine consists of waking up at whatever time that my alarm is for that day. Of course, like I said before, depending on my my work schedule that day. And I try my very best to say a mantra to myself as I'm waking up. It's usually like, I'm grateful for waking up today. And then I usually try to drink some water. It's like on my bedside table. And then I'll go into my bathroom, brush my teeth, do my skincare, unless I'm going to the gym that morning, because I try to do my skincare when I'm done with the gym because I'm like sweating and stuff. So gross. I want to get all that out when I'm done with the gym. And if I'm not at the gym, then I will do skincare routine. Then I will usually get dressed and then come back after getting dressed and then to do my hair, because my hair is, I can't put stuff over my hair without it messing up. So I usually try to change first and then go and do my hair. And then I will go into my living room. I'll open up my journal. I will journal what I'm feeling. I'll write down 3 things that I'm grateful for that day. And then I will meditate, make breakfast, and then head out to work. So that's what I would consider to be my morning routine. But I'm not going to lie, sometimes it's been a couple of weeks since I've even been able to do that. And that's just because depending on my mood and stuff. And for me, I have to be better and just basically being more consistent and disciplined. So, but that's just one example. Again, make it realistic for yourself. And for me, I started realizing like I wanted to maybe start going to the gym in the evening because mornings are just not it for me. And I realized that I also hate going to the gym in the evenings. Like the amount of people at the gym from the hours of like 5 to 9 is disgusting. Like, I'm just going to put it like that. Like there's so many people to the point where the gym was like hot, and all like the men are taking up every single machine because I feel like they think that women don't need the machines, but we definitely do. So I start realizing I'm just more stressed here, and this should be a time where I'm not stressed. So that's still TBD for me. Like, where can I find, like, I might have to just suck it up and go in the morning, because the mornings for me, like, there's like almost no one there. And even if there is like a good amount of people, it's still not like to the point where I can't grab a specific weight or go on a specific machine because it's so crowded. So, yeah. So, I mean, overall, those are just a couple of steps and tips to help develop a healthy routine. I think that the most important thing is understanding that in your routine, put self-care in it. And that's what I always say about a routine, because everyone has a routine. We all go to work, we all go to school, but are you really taking care of yourself within that routine? Like I mentioned, meditation, maybe you want to take a walk before you go to work, gratitude, physical activity, anything that you feel is actually, you feel like, wow, I took care of myself today and I didn't just get up and go with the flow of things too. So I think also a good way to kind of end a routine at night is also checking in with yourself too. So once you're done with your nighttime routine, whatever that may be for you, check in with yourself and say, how did I treat myself today? How did I talk to myself today? And it can really open up a lot of different things, because that way you can sit with yourself and you can reflect how your day went, how you're able to talk with yourself, because how we talk to ourselves really matters. So keep that in mind too. So with that, I will end with our affirmation. And the affirmation for today is, I will bring a positive attitude to my new daily habits. So I hope that resonates with some of you guys. And as always, I hope you all have a great week, and always just peace and love. All right. Thank you.